Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Devin, and today we're going to be talking about my egg cracking story. For those who don't know what that means, basically when you're trans and you have your egg cracked, that means that's like when you realized you were trans. And so, there comes a point in many trans people's lives where they're like, how do I know that I'm really trans? And there's really no like list of rules or checklists that you can check off to like say, yes, I have all of these signs, I must be trans. It's a really like nuanced and subjective personal topic, and I can't really explain what it's like for anyone else. I can only explain how it happened to me. So that's what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about how I came to the realization that I was trans. So my story, like many before me, starts off very young. And some of these ideas are just going to be reflections looking back at experiences I had when I was young, and just kind of be like guesses of what could have been going on in my head. Because, like, obviously, when you're that young, you may not even realize that what you're having is a trans experience. You can only reflect on it later. And even then, like, those aren't indications, like hard indications that you're having a trans experience. So, like, for example, I can say things like, I didn't like playing outside because it was dirty, and I liked trying on my mom's heels, and I was perceived in my society as very feminine according to my society standards. But all of these things didn't mean I was trans. It's like I came out as trans later, and I can reflect on those moments and say, it's probably because I was trans. But somebody else can experience those same things and not be trans. So I remember when it must have been like the age of 7 to 9-ish or so. I was on YouTube. It was like still a pretty new platform, and I found a YouTuber you might know by the name of Julie Vu. Um, and that's the first time that I ever realized other trans people existed. And I was like so shook, so stunned that people had this option for them, that people, if they wanted to transition, they could make the choice to do that. And I watched all of her videos. But watching them also gave me a deep sense of guilt and shame. And this was like religiously installed. Like, I didn't need to ever hear the word transgender before. Like, before I knew that labeling myself as such would lead to like a lot of suffering in my life. Church taught me well enough that this kind of thing would not be accepted by the society that I grew up in. So I learned very quickly, like, this was a hush-hush thing. And even if I felt akin to Julie and I related to a lot of her experiences and I was so fascinated by her experiences, I would not tell anybody this ever until much, much later in life. I didn't tell anybody that I think I'm trans until I was 25 years old. I didn't tell a soul. Taking hormones that young just would have never been an option for me. It was already like hard enough being perceived as a really feminine boy. And so I knew that giving myself that label was not something that I wanted to go through because I didn't want to experience that hardship. So being that I really liked men when I was younger, for the longest time, I just chose to identify as gay. And that was something that I chose to identify with personally, but I also didn't tell people for a very long time. I didn't actually tell people that I was gay until high school, but I identified as gay for a long time because I was like, oh, I like um, men and I'm never going to transition ever, so I'll just be gay. And that seemed like the closest, most palatable option for society to be able to accept me. Um, I'd still hide it from my family, but at least I had something that I thought could be seen as acceptable by other people, like my friends eventually. Like when I came out as gay, my friends were able to accept that in high school, and they're like, yeah, obviously. So yeah. Um Gays really had it in the media, you know, like especially like white gay men, like they're just like celebrated, I feel like, in media and TV shows, and even in anime and manga there's a lot of gay relationships compared to other kinds of relationships. So it just felt a lot more safer than identifying as trans would have been. And so like all of this time really repressed that trans identity in me. I was really trying very hard not to identify with it. I was saying things like, that's not me, that can never be me, that can never be an option for me. Even though I had seen people get like facial feminization surgeries and stuff, and I knew that I wanted it so bad. I would have these fantasies about running away from like Oklahoma, where I'm from, and living somewhere else and getting surgeries to look female and never telling somebody else. And to me, even then, I was like so repressed that I wasn't like, I just wanted to look feminine. I don't even want to be trans at that point. Like, I was just like going through it growing up, you know? Um, so yeah, I started to dress more and more feminine as I became more comfortable in my sexuality. Identifying as gay helped me a little bit to do that. So in high school, I started wearing some more feminine tops. And then in college, I started wearing even more feminine things, feminine jeans, and I've been wearing makeup since high school. Um, and it wasn't until college that I kind of stepped away from the gay label and started identifying as non binary. As I became more comfortable with my own femininity, I also started accepting other feminine things I liked. I came out as pansexual because I realized that I love feminine beauty, and I didn't really see like why I couldn't fall in love with somebody who's feminine, because everybody's so beautiful. And so like as I accepted my own femininity, I also accepted other aspects of femininity. But it wasn't until my early 20s when I really started getting more into almost like cross-dressing. So what had happened was Femboy stuff was super trending on TikTok. And I was like, oh my gosh, I bet if I did Femboy stuff, I could go viral. And I've always wanted to wear cute skirts anyway. Let's do it. So I did, and I made a bunch of Femboy content and got like almost 60,000 followers on TikTok and stuff. And I was dressing like a Femboy nearly daily. And this is when it became like the most dysphoric part of my life. I really like wasn't happy with my appearance before, but as soon as I started to look like a femboy, it became apparent to me that I did not want to look like a boy that was dressing up as a girl. I wanted to look like a girl, and I didn't understand why like I couldn't. It like really hurt to see myself kind of like, to me I looked like a cross-dresser. And not that there's anything wrong with cross-dressers at all or whatever. It's just not what I wanted to be in my heart. I knew that being a femboy or being a crossdresser was not enough to make me happy. And so that's what kind of finally pushed me to really consider that I might be trans. That's when I was really thinking, okay, I might be trans. I might have to actually tell somebody that I'm trans. And I remember the first person I told was I reached out to this other trans girl that I kind of knew through mutual friends, and she blocked me. Um, and that, I don't know why she did. I guess she was just like, you know, that's your own thing to figure out, maybe. I don't know. I don't think about it too much, but that kind of hurt because I was like, shit. But luckily, I had a really accepting boyfriend, and even though I was so in my head and worried about people not being able to accept me, I eventually was like, my boyfriend will love me no matter what. And even if he doesn't like girls or trans people, it's all gonna work out. And so that kind of gave me the confidence to come out to him and tell him that, hey, I really need to start HRT, hormone replacement therapy, to save my life. I'm so depressed. Seeing my masculine features in the mirror makes me not want to be here. So yeah, I knew that it was time to take things further, because at this point in my life, I was so dysphoric and so depressed that I knew that there was no other way for me and no other option for me. And I think it was not only that, but the fact that in your early 20s, that's also when testosterone really starts changing you to look even more manly, like almost like, like a second puberty almost. And I was seeing, like my hairline had started receding a little bit, and I don't know, just some other physical changes. And I was like, holy shit, like we have to stop this now. And that's how I knew that hormone replacement therapy was for me. That's how I knew I was transgender. It just all clicked then at the age of 25, finally, that this is what was going to lead me to more happiness in my life. So yeah, the rest is history. I'll be coming up on 3 years HRT in this upcoming October 2024. And back to the title, obviously being a femboy wasn't what made me trans, but it did help me grow and figure out what I wanted. And I also just want to say that not every femboy is on a path to be trans at all. Like, there's so much different kinds of people out there in the world. Some may be happy with just presenting feminine sometimes, or being gender fluid, or being straight but liking to dress up in girls' clothes. And that just happened to not be the path for me. I just happened to be transgender because that is just how I felt and how I knew it in my heart. And at the end, that's what you have to trust, is your own heart. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to stay updated with my content in my life and my videos on being transgender, everything else, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I love y'all.